Hi, Derek here for Unstoppable. Today I have a very special guest to talk about the hottest topic, that is AI. Stu Jordan is a serial entrepreneur who's now pioneering how to use AI to optimize everything. We talked about his early beginnings from becoming the go-to guy for turning around retail sales operations in New Zealand to launching a chocolate brand and all the pivots in between, including a life-changing moment in 2018 when he sold everything and started again. Join me now to hear all about that, plus most importantly, hear about his thoughts on how AI is changing everything and why it's in your best interest to learn how to use it now, if you haven't already. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's get started. Thank you for taking the time out to do this podcast. It has been a long time actually, because I think I first met you, Chiang Mai, was late last year at some AI Meetup. I just remember very clearly seeing you at this meetup. There was about 20 or so people heaped into this small room. And I just remember you speaking very eloquently, very passionately, with a lot of authority on AI. And I thought, this guy I need to have a chat with. And you very generously said, yeah, let's have a coffee. And we did that. And I said, we need to do a podcast. So that was about 3 or 4 months ago. Finally, I've had to come to Hoi An to get this podcast done.
The sacrifices we make.
And thank you for offering your space as well. I love the antique vintage look and feel here. Anyway, we're here, of course, because I wanted really to talk about, I think you've got a fascinating story in terms of what I've heard about your entrepreneurship journey. And so I thought we'd start off somewhere along there. I know that looking at your LinkedIn profile that you...
LinkedIn, do people still use that?
Well, apparently they do. It's becoming a big thing these days. I need to get mine updated. But I did note that you worked at one of my favorite tech companies, Logitech. And you were in sales. So I guess, and hearing you speak and talk with you, I get a sense that you were always kind of very good at sales and talking to people.
Yeah, born with a silver spoon or silver tongue.
The gift of the gab.
Gift of the gab's the word we're looking for. Yeah, it's been something that has come very naturally for me. And it's quite interesting. As we talk today, you'll learn more about sort of what makes me tick. But the key to sales isn't selling. It's understanding the person you're selling to and what their needs and wants are and just matching it. And you can just ask them a bunch of questions. They tell you what they want, and then you just link the product to all the things they said. So for me, selling was very easy. And I think once people understood the sort of simple process I used, it was very easy to teach to others as well, which is why I had a rather successful corporate career, because I wasn't just good at selling, I was good at teaching people how to sell.
I'm curious, how did you work out that was the formula for sales? This whole question.
Well, a formative book I read in my early days as a teenager was Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
That's exactly the same book I would attribute a lot of what I learned. That was amazing, that book.
Yeah, and through that, I learned very quickly that people care about what's in it for themselves. You've got to talk in terms of outcomes for people. And that's what got me excited, because that's easy. And what I realized most people do in sales is describe their product. And people are still doing it with their offer, their business. Here's what we do. And people don't give a rat's backside about what you do. They really just care about what's in it for them.
Yeah.
And here's a really cool way to understand that concept. Imagine you're at a conference and then the group photo, the cringy group photo at the end, everyone has to get together, and then it gets distributed out to everybody. Bing, there's a text message, open it up. Who's the first person you look for in that photograph?
Yourself.
Right, so we look for ourselves, what do I look like? And that wiring is very prevalent throughout everything we do. We care about what's in it for us. How will your product help me? And it's really simple, because in sales, you just ask them, why do you want to buy this? What are you using it for? What problem are you solving? Okay, well, great, my product does this thing. And I use a TV analogy that imagine a guy comes into an electronics store. I was in electronics, so this is a bit closer
Me
to
too.
home. All right, well, before Logitech, and I was a national sales manager for Logitech selling back into retail, I was actually a retail troubleshooter. So my role was to go into underperforming stores in an electronics chain in New Zealand and kick them into shape. So that was leading into the systems and processes that were there. They were very, very good, but most managers didn't understand how to implement them. So my role was just to fix. And in the sales training, I just say to people, look, here's how to sell. When a guy comes in and says, I want a big TV, what do you want it for? You ask questions, and he says, I want it for my man cave, so people will want to come to my house and watch the game, right? So, okay, well, I was going to show you this one, sir, but given how important this is, here's an even bigger one, and look, you know, and then you link the product back. He doesn't care about the definition, he cares about what that means. So you'd say, look, this is 4K HD. Now, that's just a number, but what it means is it's going to be the most lifelike experience, so you're going to feel like you're in the game. And given your man cave, and this has got spatial sound, you'll feel like you're actually in the crowd. But careful, sir, it has a downside. All your friends are always going to want to come to your house on game day, which is what they really want. It's ego, right?
I want to buy the TV.
Right? And then you say, so, what do you think? And you give them two options, you know, give them a yes-yes choice, not a yes-no choice. And you'd say, so which one do you like? You know, the small one or the larger one? Oh, I'll take the big one. Every time. Right?
Yeah.
So sales and understanding that human nature, it's not just in selling, it's in marketing as well. If you're in business or entrepreneurship, you need to understand people don't care about your product. They care about what it will do for them, but it's not the product they care about, it's the outcomes they care about. And if you talk about the product, they glaze over.
So tell me, what was actually your first job in sales?
My first job in sales, I was doing law school.
What? You did law?
I studied law at Otago
You
University.
didn't mention this.
Well, I didn't finish it, and we can talk about
okay,
that.
law dropout.
That's a story for another day. It's about figuring out where you're at. But I had a part-time job in a second-hand shop called Cash Converters.
Oh.
And it was all these second-hand goods, and it was just so much fun. So I got to just, in the weekend, I would just go in and you could sell jewelry, games. You know, this is before you had eBay and, you know, these big online second-hand sales, places where you could list your goods. And it was incredible, and it was so much fun. And I realized I was really good at it when I'd work Friday nights, Saturday, Sunday, and I was their number one salesperson every week.
Oh, right.
And all their weekday salespeople, and you know, I was showing them up. And that's where I realized, hey, this is something I'm good at, and I actually enjoy. And then I went back to law school, and I'm like, gosh, I hate this.
That's the reason why you quit law school?
I quit law school in third year. I'm the sort of person that if I'm not engaged and passionate about something, I just can't do it. Yeah. I just won't find it in me. I'm maybe ill-disciplined, I don't know. But in third year law, we get placements. And I went to this law firm where I was placed, and I looked at these lawyers, and no offense to them, they were very successful through the lens of their metrics, I guess, but they were just cynical, bitter. They talked down about people. They were arrogant. And I looked at those people as a young guy, and I'm like, is that who I want to be when I'm their age? God, no. And that was the day I checked out of law school, when I had that realization. And I tried to finish, I just didn't have it in me. So I ended up putting a proposal to the place where I was like, hey, to the manager of the shop, the owner of the shop where I was working part-time, I said, hey, I'm dropping out of law school. You need a manager. Here's my proposal, and here's what I'll do to your business. And he took me on as manager.
Wow.
So I just jumped straight into a management role. A rocky road in management. I had a lot to learn. It took me many, many years to learn how to manage a team effectively. But it was so much fun. And we tripled its business within 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, through just training as salespeople, laying the store out in a more logical way, and really just adhering to the standards and the systems that were there. Yeah.
That's pretty impressive at such a young age, and not really having had that managerial experience to be able to do that within 3 months. That's super impressive.
Yeah, well, I stepped on a lot of toes learning how to be an effective manager. Let's just say it was a bumpy transition into management, but you got to start somewhere.
Okay.
You are where you are. You can't change that. You can only change where you're going.
I guess if you've managed to do that in 3 months, you pretty much would have gotten bored of that, or would have thought, okay, that's probably about as good as I'm going to get here, or there's not much more of a challenge there after doing those kind of numbers. I assume that you probably moved on to something else pretty quickly, or?
Correct. Very interesting to say that, because there's an interesting thing that happens when you're able to perform at that high level and just absolutely streamline things. After a while, they become used to it and they forget that you took them from there to there. And then they're like, well, why am I paying you all this money? I've got this amazing business. It's like, because I built you this, or I helped you do this. So I had a good boss. He was okay. But I wanted to get out of this town I was in. It was a bit of a dead-end town. I just dropped out of university and I was only in that city for university, Dunedin, New Zealand. Not a terrible place, but not where I wanted to live. So I heard that some friends were heading up to the very north of the country and needed someone to drive a car. So I headed up there and dropped into, once we got there, it took a week, I dropped into the local cash converters and said, hey, you need some help? He rang my old boss and took me on that day. So I realized, hey, I'm really good at this. And we did the same to his business. And then suddenly I was in demand.
Right.
People were like, come work in my shop. Come work in my shop. So I worked in like 4 different cash converters around the country. And then I went into the electronics industry and had a chance to manage a big flagship store for one of the leading electronic companies. Did well there, and that's sort of how I became a troubleshooter. And then Logitech was the natural stepping stone.
Right.
A couple of steps in between, but nothing to write home about.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you were able to bring all that to Logitech. Did you basically do what you did at cash converters in a bigger organization like Logitech?
Well, no, I'd learned a lot by the time I got to Logitech, and I was a national sales manager selling into the retail accounts, and I had a very deep understanding of retail. So I knew what made salespeople tick, and I knew what made store owners tick, and I knew what made the buyers tick. I knew what they were looking for. So back in those days, it was incredible. We had all the data. So on every category, mice, keyboards, speakers, we would get data that all the different appliance companies like Logitech, Microsoft, everyone that was selling in that area would agree to have their sales recorded in each channel. So we could see exactly how many mice Microsoft were selling through this retail chain, through this one. We could see everybody's data.
You could see,
and they could see ours as well.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it was data that was freely available. And I looked at that data and I was like, and I don't know why I actually don't know how I figured this out. Just my brain works a bit differently, I think. And I realized all of Microsoft's mice revenue comes from one SKU. In fact, 73% of their revenue in the mice category came from one mouse at the sweetest price point. And they owned that price point. And we didn't. But we had the better mouse. And I was like, I want that price point. And in fact, one retailer was doing about 65% or 2/3 of their entire revenue on that mouse.
Wow.
So I'm like, if I can just take out that one mouse in that one retail channel, I'll take their market share. I'll take a massive chunk of their market share. And I went through every category and realized similar things. You know, there's only 2 or 3 products in each category, the old 80-20 rule, making up the majority of revenue. So rather than trying to sell everything, I was just very strategic. Okay, I'm only going to sell these things and really attack those very specific price points. And I put together a strategy and I took it to my boss and I said, I need 100K. Here's my crazy strategy. I'm going to sell entire containers and I'm going to take those price points, but I need some money to pay for catalogs and to incentivize the retailers to come on board. He looked it over and was like, yeah, let's do it. So I went to the buyer and he was like, no way, I can't give you that price point, not a chance. And I went to every retailer with a really special offer and I was attacking Microsoft on every single metric, key product for price points. Now at the time, they were around 70 to 80% of market share, so we'd have graphs that would show where they were at month to month. And Logitech was way down there. It was very early days for Logitech. And we implemented this plan over the course of 3 weeks. We hit every retailer with different price points that we wanted. But the big one, the one we took out mice, webcam, and I think keyboards with this one retailer, that was their biggest retailer. And the buyer was like, not a chance. I can't give you those price points. So we had a discussion and I said, well, what do you need? And he in the end, I made him a deal that was too good to turn down. He could not say no. And he took it to his boss and said, yep, we'll do it. And I did a $1.1 million sale.
Wow.
And we took Microsoft out. And within 4 months, we had reversed places on every category. And we were the dominant, and they dropped. To the point where in the country where I was, New Zealand, they shut down their head office and relocated it to Australia and ran it all from Australia. We wiped the floor with them.
Wow.
So that's the power of understanding data, understanding the market trends, and it's taking a more strategic approach, which is something I've always done. I had an earlier role where I learned this principle, and in between the retail troubleshooting and Logitech, I worked for a company selling a finance product, a leasing product into the retailer, and they wanted my help to help spearhead it and train the salespeople on how to sell the product. And I had this list of clients that I had to call on. I got a brand new Ford Falcon. It was very nice, very well paid job. And I had to cruise all around this massive territory, calling on all these places. And it was hard work. I was getting worn out. It's like, this is crazy. And now I was number 3 in sales, number 3 coming on number 2. And I'm like, oh. So once again, this is before Logitech. And I was just looking and I realized that, hang on, where does all my revenue come from? Who's actually selling this product the most? So I just took the sales, sorted it by top to bottom, and I realized the 80-20 rule. Wow, look, all my revenue is coming from just a handful of clients. So why don't I just call on them and give them the most amazing experience, really invest heavily in them and show them that we care, and then just stop calling on all these ones until they reach out. So I did that and went way ahead, straight to number 1 in the company, to the point where they're like, what are you doing? What's changed? How are you doing this? And then the complaints came. So I got a call from my boss, and he's like, I've got a complaint from a company that says you haven't called on them in 2 months. And I said, yep, what's the problem? He said, well, they're saying, why haven't you called on them? I said, because they've done this much revenue in the last year. They're not committed, why should I be? I said, look at what I'm doing. I'm looking after the people that want to sell our product and want to make the difference. And he's like, okay, nice. Carry on. You know, there's one thing people can't argue with, and that's results.
Yeah.
And I was very good at getting those. Wow, what an interesting walk down memory lane this is.
That's super. And just to clarify, for some people that may not fully understand what you're talking about in terms of the buyer, you're talking about the retail chain?
Okay, so yeah, in the retail chain, they had like 90 plus stores.
Right.
So it was a nationwide chain.
Yep.
And well, they were in Australia as well, but I was only dealing with the New Zealand accounts. And the buyer is the person who takes care of all the decides what stock goes into their store for his category. Right. So my buyer was in the accessories category, so he looked after that. And I also won Supplier of the Year for that company and Account Manager of the Year. So we won all of those awards because I just did their job for them. I made it so easy to do business.
Yeah.
I'd be like, so you've got to fill out a report on us, right? He goes, yeah, we have to fill out a weekly report. I said, send me the template. And then I'd send it to him a day before he needed to send it, all pre-filled in with all our data. And he'd be like, this is better than I was doing. And he'd just copy paste, just throw it in. So whenever they had stock that was returned, I'd say, yeah, I'll take it, credit, boom, no arguments, no nothing.
Right.
Just treat them like the VIP customer they are. So it's just so easy. Just got to get out of your own head and put yourself in their position and think, what do they need? How can I best help and support them do their job? So, right. Yeah, little principles like that. I'll include all that in a book one day.
Excellent. So then what did you do after that, after Logitech?
Well, the 2008 crash happened. Right. And at the time, I think Logitech's share price went from like $36. I still have some Logitech shares actually. But anyway, they went from $36 all the way down to like $4 or $5 or $6. Wow. And they were laying off everywhere. And it was the 2008 crash, right, which was quite large. Now, I got made redundant, but not because I was number 3 in the entire company out of 1,500 people in sales globally. I was a very high performer.
Number 3?
Number 3.
In the world?
And I had one of the smallest territories.
Right.
So, I can't compete with the American territories.
Yeah.
Even if they were incompetent, they were still outselling me because they had much larger territories. I had a tiny wee territory with 5 million people in it, and I was number 3 in the country. in the company. But my boss's boss, he was can I swear? I'll keep it clean. He was not a good person. And this was back in the days when corporate culture was a little more toxic. And he once said, if you're not prepared to put your marriage on the line and sacrifice it for this company, I don't want you. And I remember hearing those words, and I don't play nice in the corporate world. I say what I think. And I said, that's bullshit. And he just took an instant dislike to me. So he was looking for an excuse to get rid of me. They announced redundancies. I knew the minute they announced that he was going to use that to take me out, and I already had a plan to go self-employed anyway that I've been working on. So he did me a big favor, and I didn't fight it. Their loss, right? Because he allowed his ego to get in the way of results. And this is what happens in the corporate world, right? There's just so much. You've got to blow smoke up the right backsides. You've got to nurture and stroke the right little egos. And it's draining. And I'm a straight shooter. Because I get results, people tend to listen, but this guy didn't care.
Yeah.
And I remember my first performance review, and I'm crushing it. We're wiping Microsoft out, and he just said, "Oh, you're just lucky. You just come in and got lucky." I'm like, "This isn't luck; it's strategy." And he just couldn't accept it. He had this intense dislike for me because I didn't buy into his guru bullshit.
Right.
I didn't buy into his. He was like this cult leader, and I just. If I didn't agree with something, I would say so, but I'd always back it up with rational explanation. But apparently, you've got to say the right things to the right people in the corporate world. So I was a bit disillusioned. And what's really interesting is, once I got made redundant, I called one of the buyers. He wouldn't even return my call. Because I didn't want to damage their relationship with Logitech.
Right.
So, I haven't really talked about this publicly before, but at the time I was very upset. Obviously very angry at that person, but he did me the biggest favor of my life. So since 2008, I've been self-employed.
I mean, well, it sounds like you also had you also prepared for it, so that was very good.
In a sort of role like that, it has a shelf life of 3 to 5 years, and if you carry on, you just stagnate. And once I've crushed something and got it all running smooth, I want to go fix something else or build something else. And that's the way I'm wired, right? So, my first foray into self-employment was, I'm good at retail, let's start a retail business. I wrote a list of 10 areas where I thought there was a market, and I could only get 9 on my list. And then I remember number 9 was tropical fish for apartment living, because you can't really have cats and dogs.
Right.
So why not have fish? And then I was like, oh, what a hassle that would be. That'd be a terrible idea. But I couldn't think of number 10, and I was eating a chocolate bar at the time, and I really liked chocolate. Like, what about chocolate shop? So I wrote chocolate. And then when I did some market research, I realized it was an underserved market, that the current people in retail were doing a pretty poor job, because I'm a professional retailer. So I built my own retail business.
I'm curious, where did you find this research back then?
Oh, I did it myself.
Just searching on the web, or?
No, I walk around and look.
Okay. All right, so just actually just on the ground kind of research.
Yeah, I just literally went and looked at all the competitors. Yeah, I did some online research as well. Online wasn't as effective back in 2008 as it is now. But it was enough to see that it was very mum and pup kind of businesses. They didn't really have ambition, and I thought there was a real market. But it was a very steep learning curve to going off and becoming self-employed.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of very big, totally different market you're in. Chocolate, it seems very...
Oh, yeah. I mean, I went and got professional
very
training.
random.
Look, another thing I took to very quickly was chocolate making. So I went and got professionally trained at the Savour Patisserie and Chocolate School. And I found I was a natural for that too.
Oh, really?
There's many things I'm very bad at, but chocolate making, it was a process, and it was very, very intuitive for me. So then with what I already knew was make things people like, so I just researched what flavors people like. So I put surveys out saying, just on social media, what names do you like best, or what would you call this chocolate? And
this is just on your personal account? Or
just
you had
just while I was researching.
Okay.
And so I built a retail shop anyway, and took everybody, so I wholesaled. I didn't have my own manufacturing at this stage.
Right.
So I just built a retail shop wholesaling in. And I put a really flash POS point of sale in because I understood the power of data, and I was able to use that data to identify where the gaps in the market were and which competitors were overpriced. You know, we had one competitor that thought they were the bee's knees, and competitor now, but at the time they were a supplier, but they had the lowest margin in my store and the lowest stock turn. So their product was slow to move and low margin, which means compared to the market, they were overpriced.
Yep.
And because I hadn't really had to go up against other brands before. So I was the only person in the country with the data selling everybody else's product. So I could very quickly see where the opportunities were. And I was like, you know what? I'll make more money making my own chocolate. Knew nothing about manufacturing. Went and got trained, built a big chocolate factory, and basically nearly lost everything.
Stu in the chocolate factory.
Yeah, Willy Wonka was my nickname for many years. But you know, I was a different person back then. I made a lot of mistakes. I didn't understand that my success in the corporate world wasn't entirely mine. It was because I was standing on the backs of systems and processes that very smart people and the company had invested a lot of money in. And I'm just naturally able to see through, to understand those systems intuitively and know how to implement them. Take all that away, what a learning curve. And you realize that, there's more than just sales. You know, and I made a lot of mistakes. So I went down the franchising road. Someone spoke in my ear at a trade show saying, yes, you should franchise your store. And I had no intention of. And I remember I probably lost $250,000 just in the franchising.
Really?
And then franchisees were terrible creatures. They wanted me to do everything and they just stood there. They didn't follow policy. I'm natural at many things, bad at many. I am not good at franchising. I was not good at getting a franchisee to follow a system. It was absolutely abysmal. And we had one franchisee, I bought the store back. We made money, but then the mall shut down. Another one, I had the franchisees run away one night. They just shut down the store, took all their stuff out, and ran away. So I got a call from the mall saying, where's your shop gone? And I was the head leasee. So I had the head lease and we pre-assigned the lease.
Right.
And when I talked to lawyers, they're like, these guys got no money, you can sue them, but you're not going to get anywhere. Just take the loss. And I honestly, franchising, overall, I lost so much money.
Wow.
It nearly sunk me. My own retail shop, I sold that, the flagship. We were doing around $700K a year, 2 years in a row. And we sold it to this lady. And she hired this person, and I was like, you've got to have us approve your hiring. She refused to listen, and she put somebody in that had no customer service experiences. She was a Chinese lady. And she put this girl in that had no social skills because she trusted her and had didn't understand. And the business halved in a year. She halved the business, and then she blamed me. And I was like, okay, guess what I'm really bad at? Franchising. And it nearly sunk me. And I used the money from building the franchise initially to build a chocolate factory.
Right.
So when the franchise pretty much collapsed, I had to go pure wholesale. And that's where I was like, I have to sell online, right? So this is, now we're in 2013, 2014, coming into even 2015. I was investing heavily in building community through Facebook. And back in those days, we could acquire customers for like less than $1. Right. Those were the golden days of Facebook ads because no one else was competing, mum and pop, very unsophisticated competitors. So I started focusing on online. I got really into SEO optimization. I was just using like Yoast SEO and I got everything green. I got obsessed with it. And I was number one on all the search results when you search online chocolate in the country. And that every time I was running out of money, because I lost so much money in the franchise. And then I didn't know how to manufacture. I got a mentor in early 2016. And he was like, where's your systems and processes? What a reminder that was. Because I hadn't clicked that my success earlier was on the shoulders of those systems and processes. So, a bit humbling to learn that success doesn't just come from your talent. You need systems, processes. You can't scale a business without it. So my mentor taught me these lessons, but I was losing money hand over fist. I didn't understand how to price product properly. I was only good at selling, not manufacturing. I was lucky I had a factory manager that probably wasn't the right person for the role. And I made a lot of poor hiring decisions. I'd make excuses for people. I wasn't ruthless enough in my early days in business. So yeah, I literally generated millions of dollars in revenue and had nothing to show for it. In fact, I was going backwards. It almost bankrupted me. I had debt collectors coming around because I couldn't pay for some packaging. 27 grand in packaging that I bought, and then I couldn't pay for it because the franchise collapsed, and it was bad. So, that company, the accounts lady was a nastiest lady, horrible lady. She would ring me every second day and I'd explain the situation. She just didn't care. And I'm like, well, I can't manufacture money out of thin air. So anyway, I remember debt collectors turning up at the back of the factory. So I learned the law pretty quickly, and I'm like, you can't actually come in unless I invite you in, so no, I'm not letting you in, go away. But it forced me to innovate. And they say necessity is the mother of innovation. Oh, how true. So I had to make money. So I started putting bundles together and going online saying, special factory clearance sale, get a bundle of all this, and I use all my factory seconds. I'd make up 50 bundles, sell them for $40 a bundle, I'd make $2,000. And every time I needed money to pay wages or whatever, I would do that. And I was so stressed, I was massively overweight, I was unhappy, and I wasn't in the right mindset to run the business efficiently. I was so overwhelmed, I couldn't sleep at night. Oh, those were horrible days, and I was bitterly unhappy. And everyone thought I was a happy chocolatier. I'd make jokes. I was obese. And I'd say things like, no one trusts a skinny chocolatier. And everyone would laugh, and inside I'm crying, of course. But that business taught me so much. And it also taught me the power of marketing. And that's where I learned the power of community. And it was that community that saved my bacon.
How did that happen?
By being able to sell product to them. And really, whenever I needed money, I could put a bundle out and I would make the money and just scrape by. And then one day, it was 2016, I'd had the mentor for a while, I was fixing pricing, my wholesale business was weak, my online business was carrying the entire company. So I was focused there, which was smart and the right thing to do. And this thing came across on Facebook. I was in my office and this thing on Facebook, and I printed it out, I still have it somewhere. And it said, to make $1 million, you need to sell 3,000 products at this price, 2,000 products at this price, or whatever. And then the second part, or monthly sell $35 product to 3,000 people, da-da-da-da. And I was just looking at it going, subscription product. And this is when subscription products were just coming into vogue. And I was like, oh, my chocolate box. That's a cool name. Somebody owned the URL, but there was no business. So I thought, well, I need that name. It's got to be that name. Literally, I went running into my factory and said breathlessly to the staff, we're going to do a subscription product. It's going to be called My Chocolate Box, and we're going to sell it, and we're going to make lots of money. And they were just like, what's he on this time? But I was holding on by the skin of my teeth. And one thing you need as an entrepreneur is resilience and grit and determination, especially when your back's to the wall. You've got to find a way to push through. You cannot give up. And one thing I'm proud of, I never gave up. I was losing money. I could have lost literally more than $1 million. And I did lose a lot of money in the early days. But anyway, I was so convinced this was the right thing to do. I sat down, put a landing page on my website saying, subscription product, My Chocolate Box, set it up the subscription through Stripe, sent an email out, and had 10 sales within 3 hours. I'm like, oh, that's going to work. Hadn't designed a product, didn't know what My Chocolate Box actually was, except it was going to be a subscription product at this price. Yeah. I wish I could have that time again, because I made a very cool box, but I didn't really think about how hard it would be to manufacture with 9 different products every month. If I'd done 4 products and more of it, I probably would have been just as successful with a much lower cost. But anyway, within a week, we had over 100 subscribers. So that's $3,500 a month coming in within a week. And I'm like, wow, let's invest in this. Right? Suddenly we've got money. Within 6 months, we had 3,200 subscribers. Wow. We'd built a standalone website. I finally got the URL because the people that had bought it, I put a reminder for the expiry date and they didn't renew it. So I grabbed that, got mychocolatebox.co.nz. We had the .nz, so we transferred it over. And that subscription product just went boom. And suddenly cash was just, $100K plus a month coming in. Wow. I'm like, oh, finally, right? So bought some machinery, expanded the factory, and we got to a point where the churn, a thing I didn't know about subscription products, this churn kicked in, where we were losing more customers than we could acquire. And we were acquiring customers for like $1. I remember one day we bought 50 customers in at 14 cents a customer.
Wow.
So, you know, the heydays. But I could realize we're in a small market, 5 million people. I've probably capped out, and without a significant investment in capital to take this to the next level, and I just had lost my passion. I was burned out. That took such a toll on me. I was overweight, bitterly unhappy, making money. So the money problem went away.
Yeah.
But the unhappiness and I was still overweight, and you know, I ate 5 lifetimes of chocolate in that decade. So I had this for a decade, but yeah, we sold that in 2018, and I left the country, and I haven't been back.
I remember when we first had our initial talk, you had a turning point where you made this decision. Was that at this point? This was something else?
This was this point.
It was at this point.
The financial stress had gone away.
Yeah.
You know, suddenly I could pay my bills, and there'd be like 10 or 20K every month left in the bank, and I could start paying people back and pay back that horrible lady, and then tell them I'm never buying from you again. I could buy in bulk from China for packaging, so I was able to reduce my cost. Yeah, that was great, but I was coming on 150 kgs.
Wow.
I was a big boy. My goodness. And I was walking down the beach one day. It was in 2018, early 2018. And it was summer. It was a beautiful day. And I was like, very unhappy. And I thought, why does my life suck? And this thought popped in my head, because you chose it. And I remember blurting out, no, I didn't, as I'm walking along the beach. No one around, so it didn't matter. But I was like, no, I didn't. And I was like, well, did I? And as I was walking, I was just like thinking about the choices and the decisions that I'd made. And then, look, I've read personal development books from a young age, Dale Carnegie, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, but none of it ever stuck. But in that moment, suddenly there was just like, it's like something clicked in my head, and I can't describe it very well, but it was definitely what we'd call an epiphany, an aha moment, where suddenly I just like time froze, and I realized, wow, I am where I am because of the decisions I've made, and the path I'm on is an accumulation of all those decisions, and my mindset is what drives those decisions. And I can change my mindset. And I can't instantly change, but if I can change my mindset and change my path, eventually I'll get to where I want to go, rather than carrying on down this path that, you know, in those days it was the convenience. They'd take the easy path that leads to more pain in the long run. Don't do the hard things. You know, I couldn't go to a gym. I had this mindset that gyms were bad, and I hated gyms, and I reinforced it so many times, and I had some bad gym experiences. So, you know, I made all these excuses, and we're very good at lying to ourselves. But in that moment, everything was laid bare, and I could just see that exactly all my unhappiness, I'd manufactured it. And that was like lightning hit me. And I was like, wow. And then I started thinking, and I've always been very solution focused. When I'm confronted with a problem, I don't dwell on it. I look at the solution. And I encourage anyone to do the same. And I was thinking, well, how do I solve that? Well, I've got to fix the mindset. The mindset. Willpower won't cut it. Willpower will fail. My willpower fails. I have this energy, but then the mindset's like gravity, and it drags you back to the path you're on. It's the mindset that informs, you know, before every decision, we have a choice. Do I do this or this or this? And we make a decision, and it's our mindset, the way we're brought up, our environment. There's all these factors that feed into how we make decisions. And I realized that I could influence that and make better decisions if I changed the questions. And everything just fell into place. All the books I'd read, suddenly I could see the entire path before me, and I knew exactly how to change my path. Within a week, I put the business on the market. I hired a business broker to sell the business. That was like February. So the business sold, we had on paper in April, and then I had to work through a couple more months. And then July, I'm free. 2018, I'm free as a bird. What am I going to do with my life? I got some money for the first time in my life, actually some cash. I sold everything I owned. And I'm a pretty altruistic person. and I just wanted to let go of everything. So I had all these clothes, and I was like, well, I'm going to grow out of those, so I'm just going to get rid of them. So I just gave them away. Some guy came and picked them up, probably a second-hand shop guy, gave them away. I was living in a very expensive apartment. I had beautiful furniture. I remember one painting, Vanilla Sky. Loved that painting. I spent like way too much money on it. But anyway, I was like, I need to get rid of all this stuff. I don't want to sell it bit by bit. I didn't care about the money. So I was like, I'll pay it forward. So I found this Samoan family that were looking for household furniture, and I said, hey, I've got this stuff, do you want to take it? And they're like, oh no, we couldn't take it. They refused. They didn't want charity.
Yeah.
I said, well, how much could you afford? And they said, probably $500. They were poor. I said, you can have everything in my apartment for $500. And they walked around going, are you sure? I said, yeah. So 3 days later, they turned up with a truck. I helped them load it up. All gone. And all I kept was anything that would fit in one suitcase. And once that was sold, I went and got an Airbnb, checked it, got rid of the apartment. It was just rented, so I ended the lease. Stayed in the Airbnb for a week, and then jumped on a plane and headed to Las Vegas to become a poker pro. Anyway, that's a different story, but I realized that I needed to change my environment, that the environment I was in was making me unhealthy. I was unhappy, and for me to change, I needed to change my environment. I needed a new mindset, and I was starting to ask more positive questions, like, how do you lose weight is the worst question you can ask when you're overweight, because you're focused on the wrong thing. It's like saying, Derek, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to not imagine a big pink elephant with wings flying slowly past your window with a funny expression on his face. And then I asked the question, was the elephant looking at you? Right? The point is, you can't not see the elephant.
Right.
So it's a funny thing about human nature. We focus on the subject, not the positive or negative. So I realized, wow, I should focus on health, not weight loss. I must not eat cake. I must not eat cake. Tell yourself that, you're going to eat so much damn cake, because all your brain is thinking about is cake, cake, cake. All you've got in your head is cake, and your mind goes after what it's focused on. So when you focus on more positive outcomes and change the questions from negative to positive, how can I gain health? And I realized, the answer to that question was, well, I don't like gyms, but I like walking. So I'll walk more. So Las Vegas, 40 plus degree, dry summer. It was right in the middle of summer. World Series of Poker. I realized I wasn't good enough at poker to really cut it, and the grind was too hard. So I wrote a book while I was there, played a lot of poker, and started a marketing agency basically because I enjoyed marketing.
I just want to take a step back there. I'm very curious. You're saying you said you wanted to change your mindset, you wanted to change your environment. Las Vegas is an interesting choice in terms of a place to go to.
Yeah, but it was good for me because I stayed out off the strip. So
Right.
I was in a gated community. So to get to the bus stop would take me 20-minute walk. And then to get from the bus back would be 20-minute walk.
But in your
and
mind,
then walking up and down the strip, you'd walk. I was walking like 8 kilometers a day.
okay. But I'm assuming that the main reason why Las Vegas was because of this World Series poker thing.
It was
wasn't
because
a long-term.
I realized I was someone that needed to follow my passions.
Right.
I've learned a lot about myself, and I know what I'm bad at and what I'm good at. And I realized, like law school taught me, if I don't have the passion, I can't push through. So
Yep.
don't do things that I'm not passionate about. So I realized to get healthy, what you eat is more important. So I made a commitment to myself. I'm only going to eat healthy food with a caveat, food that I really like. So I went and figured out all the breakfast foods I liked, all the lunch foods, dinner foods. And in America, it's hard to find healthy food. There's sugar in everything. But I cut out processed sugar. And I just made better decisions, right? And the weight just dropped off. Like, I think I lost like 20 kilos in like 2 months. And it just dropped off. And then I went to Canada. And anyway, I couldn't cut it as a poker pro. So I had to do something else. And I went into entrepreneurship and business and started trying to build an online business. And what do you know? Failed 100 times again. One thing I'll tell you, success, the path to success is paved by failure. If you're not prepared to fail, you'll never succeed.
So in terms of changing your mindset, what sorts of things did you actually do?
Well,
besides-
it's like the way you feed your body. If I eat the bad food, my body gets fat. If I eat healthy food, my body gets thinner and I feel better. It's the same things you feed your mind. You know, we're so absorbed in social media and you've got to be so careful about how you feed your mind. And so I looked at it like I had two mindsets, the old mindset that took me down the wrong path and the new mindset I was trying to build. And it's like staring at this, you know, massive cornfield that stretches infinitely in every direction. So you've got to go through it. And your mindset is the path that's already been established and it's easier. And like lightning, our mind tends to go where it's easiest for our mind to go. So it would go down that path. So you'd have to physically think positive outcomes and create a new path. But here's the difference. When you change your mindset, as you beat down that path, instead of it getting harder and harder, like it does when you use willpower, you get easier and easier because you start feeding this second mindset. You ignore that mindset and it will scream at you sometimes. It takes a bit of discipline. But I was walking, my energy levels were up. And when you start seeing results, it feeds into itself. So I'm like, yeah, this is working. Look, I'm getting skinnier. I felt better. My self-confidence was going up. Massive what self-confidence can do. I suddenly felt empowered and that fueled that mindset. So it was easier and easier for me to keep making healthy choices because the benefits were so obvious. Now I had a very dramatic transformation, but that transformation started back on that epiphany moment in the beach. That's when it all fell into place. That was the day I started on that new path. So yeah, very interesting journey.
I'm still want to get clearer on the mindset thing in terms of how would you describe how your mindset was before? Because to me, you seem like you were a very proactive person. You were very solutions focused. You were creating success, but at the same time you weren't happy. So what was the thing that was?
It's funny you say that because it's very interesting how people define success. And let me tell you, money doesn't define success for me because I had money and I wasn't happy. I was miserable after I sold my business. And now I appreciate that money's a scorecard. So the old mindset was lazy. It was taking the path of least resistance. It was, I like eating this food and it's too hard to eat healthy. I don't like to go to gyms. It's easy to sit on the couch and watch TV. I was lazy. I was hardworking, but I had issues in my personal life. I was overweight, unhappy. When you're carrying all that weight around, it's very hard to be happy because you don't like what you see in the mirror. And I guess I just got to the point where enough was enough and the pain of that path outweighed the easiness of walking that path. And I just had to do something new. I had to change. So the old mindset was I wasn't prepared to push through. I didn't have grit. I had resilience. But the success I had in business, I could not replicate in my personal life.
Right, okay. So it was just applying that kind of mindset you had to business, but to your personal.
Yeah. Well, when the weight started dropping off, that's when things started clicking. And that's when it got easier and easier to feed the new mindset. How do I feed that new mindset? How did I distinguish? It's like the old ancient Indian speaking to his grandchildren around a campfire and tells them the story of the two wolves. And inside you is two wolves, a good wolf and a bad wolf. Well, for me, it was the new mindset and the old mindset, same thing. And he was telling the kid that these two wolves are constantly in battle. And that we have a nature to do good and we have a nature to do bad, or we have a mindset to do good and we have a mindset that will just be lazy. The old and the new mindset. And the kid looks at the grandfather and says, well, which wolf will win? And the grandfather says, whichever one you feed. And I can tell you, when that old mindset was starving, it would scream. So you'd be like, really, But I was at that point where I just absolutely knew that path led nowhere. And there'd been a shift, that click, something shifted. And I can't really say exactly what it was. I think it was just a culmination of all the learning I'd done. Finally, my brain made sense of it. Yeah. Finally, I realized how to apply it to me. So yeah, I can't exactly answer it in detail as to, how I was able to do that. it seemed fairly easy, and it got easier and easier. It was like your mindset suddenly is your tailwind, not holding you back. So building an empowered mindset is as simple as asking empowered questions. Because what happens when I ask a question?
You direct the mind.
You just did it. You answered. We're programmed to answer questions. So if you can change the questions, you can change the answers. And those answers will inform better decisions by making better choices. And that will shift your path. So I just changed questions. I would have a list of questions. I'd wake up every day and I'd read these questions. And the questions were, how can I be healthier? How can I embrace my inner power? How can I become more confident? How can I become the best version of myself? And I became obsessed with that. And I knew it was going to be I knew that it wasn't going to be instant. That delayed gratification, where I'd always take the path of instant gratification, I started delaying that gratification. I was just absolutely determined because I knew that if I didn't, that depression would win. And I would just not have a fulfilled life. And I wanted more. And I think a lot of people want more.
For sure. So going back to, so basically you went to Las Vegas, then you went to Canada, you traveled around a bit, you started up some new businesses.
So I thought, well, I was good at marketing. And I had a friend in New Zealand, so we started a marketing agency to run online. I remember I was in Thailand when I got my first client. I was so excited, $200. I was like, I got my first client, and I was writing copy, and they were like, wow, this is great copy, and can you do this one? Yeah, but so I'm like, Then I had another client, and I charged like $350, thinking I'm going to put my prices up. And I remember I was in Pai, this little town north of Chiang Mai.
Yes.
And I was out staying at a friend's place for Thanksgiving, and I woke up in the morning and they were still in bed, so I was just sitting out and there were banana plantations and mountains. The mist was just lifting over this little lake they had. And I looked at my phone and it was a text message. I got a text message saying, dude, that copy you wrote for us, we made 71K or something. And he sent me a screenshot. And I'm like, shit, I charged $350 for that. And that, I was like, oh. So I instantly realized I need to put my prices up. The very next client, I pitched him 2.5K. And he turned around and said, I can get that on Fiverr for $300. Why would I do that? I need a new approach. So then I was like, right, let's do it the right way, the Stu way. Let's look at the data. Let's figure out what makes these people tick. Let's put myself in their shoes. Let's be more outcome focused. The very next call I got, the sales call, and I was getting good at getting people to, I was good at marketing, so I had plenty of hooks. So I had this sales call, and I didn't talk about my product at all. I just said, so what problem are you having? Oh yeah, subscription. Well, I had a subscription product. I told him about my success. I pointed out a few things that he might have wanted to consider. I said, well, what are you looking for? What outcome are you wanting? Like if I was to help you, what would you measure? What would you consider success? And he said, oh, I'd need this much a month. I said, oh, that's only this many customers. I said, well, I can get you there. And he goes, oh, really? I said, yep. And I laid out a plan. I said, this is right in my wheelhouse, buddy. I said, I can get you there. He goes, oh, what's it going to cost me? And I said, 2.5K. And I was waiting. And he says, oh, I thought you were going to say 20K. And I'm like, you were paid 20K? Gosh.
That was a lot.
Yeah. But, that 3.5K for consultancy is a good sweet spot. But, I realized that the value you ascribe, we're so worried. We let our mindset about money dictate our pricing. If we think something's too expensive, well, that's caused by imposter syndrome. A personal trainer like, oh, who am I to sell? So we price cheap because we're comfortable with that price. And if we're uncomfortable with the price, we assume our market will be uncomfortable, and we communicate that subconsciously, and we wonder why we can't get sales. And when you realize that, hey, I'm making this guy 70K, he'll pay 10K for that 70K, right? Yeah. And I realized, so to sell online, it's the same as selling in real life. What do you want? How will it help you? What are the outcomes you want? And then link my product to those outcomes. So if I do this, it'll translate to this, this, and this. And then if I was to make you 35K a month, what would you pay for that? And let them tell you. One guy's like 5K. I said, okay, well, we were going to be a little bit more expensive than that, but I think if you're prepared to go ahead at 5K, I'll shave it. I was going to do it at 3K. And then, so I had a lot of failures as well. A lot of the stuff I tried to do didn't work. So, I'm not going to pretend that I was just instantly successful, because I wasn't. And nothing seemed to, getting an offer off the ground was really hard. And I started learning more about current online marketing, because I hadn't learned about marketing since I built my old website way back in 2010. So I had to keep up and catch up, and I learned about ClickFunnels. And when I was walking in Las Vegas, I was writing a book about my transformation. Now, I won't talk about that today, but it's a secret project, a big picture that I'm working to. But I remember seeing an ad, very clever targeted ad, because I was searching about book writing, and it was like, do not write a book until you've heard this or read this. I'm like, oh, better click that. Sucked right in, and it was for Expert Secrets, a book by Russell Brunson. And I'm like, well, I'm doing a heap of walking, so I'll download the audiobook for free. I had free Kindle credits. And I just put this on, and I'd walk around Las Vegas, absolutely amazed. The attractive character, how webinars work. And I started learning this new form of marketing. And I spent 3 months building my first sales funnel. I was so excited and made no money. There's literally $0. And I spent thousands on ads. And I realized, there's a bit more than what they're telling us here. And what's the difference between Russell Brunson and me? He has a following, I don't. I need a following. Oh, how do I get a following? I've got to build community. And that's when I realized community was everything. So at that stage, I was taking on new things. I wasn't making a huge amount of money at that stage. Not $200, but we were making a lot more, but it wasn't what I wanted for the work I was putting in. I was working really hard. So I was like, well, how do I do this? And I made a fatal mistake, and I split myself across different businesses. I can help this guy. I'll take a percentage in his business, and I'll blow up the business, and that'll blow up. And so I suddenly got excited by that plan without really thinking it through. And suddenly I'm split 5 ways: my own agency, a startup for funding other startups, a copywriting business, a web design business, and another marketing business called Optin Kings. And I couldn't get any of them off the ground apart from my agency. I couldn't get these things. We would get them to a certain level, and then I just couldn't get them across the line. And I realized I'm only spending 20% of my time on each. How can I be truly effective? And I forgot the golden rule of having singular focus. And then AI came along. But just before AI, we were doing a free workshop. So our lead magnet for the agency, and I had staff in the agency, the lead magnet was tame the chaos, get unstuck, and scale your agency fast. Free workshop. We'll listen. We'll send you a 4-point action plan that'll help you tame the chaos in your agency, because we saw a big problem in the market was that agency owners were putting out fires all the time. They were having so many problems. And they're like, well, I'm a systems and process guy. By this stage, I've learned the power of systems and processes and realized that's what really makes success. So I just go in and help them build systems and processes. And we were charging 18 to 25K for these services. A long way. It took me 3 years to go from 200 a client to 20K a client. And I tell you what, working with 20K clients is so much better than working with $500 clients. $500 clients are broke and they just want everything for nothing. 20K clients are like, wow, they respect your expertise, they're invested, and they let you do your stuff. And then I was in Thailand, and I got a phone call or a text message from one of my business partners. What he didn't realize was that message culminated in me leaving that business.
Oh.
But it was like, I was in Thailand, thankfully, because if I was here in Vietnam, I wouldn't have been able to get access because Vietnam wasn't an approved country. It was like, have you heard about ChatGPT? This was the 30th of November, the day it came out. I'm like, what do you mean ChatGPT? What's that? Dude, you got to see this. Sent me a link. I clicked in, create an account, okay. Thailand, had my Thai number. Luckily, was able to get an account. And I sat down and was like, I don't know what this is. So I was like, what are you? And it printed this answer. And I was like, wow, so what are you good at? Can you do sales? And can you do marketing? And it was like, well, I need more information. And this is back in the 3.5 day. And just seeing that cursor dancing across the screen, I was just like, oh, wow. So the very next staff meeting we had with my team, I was like, guys, we're going to start doing AI. And we just dived in and we were creating all this documentation. I knew nothing about AI at this stage in terms of the level I'm at now. But we're like, how do we do our program that we do for agencies? How can we make AI carry a lot of that lifting? We could be really efficient here. But I immediately just loved AI. Like I took to chocolate making, I took to AI. Luckily, I was naturally wired for it. Yeah, very fascinating. So that was November, end of November. By sort of January, I'd clicked into how to get some better sort of outputs. In February, we learned prompt structure. We developed a prompt structure that just took us to a whole new level. And all of a sudden, all of our workflows, we could collapse them down. And on average, for each of those clients, we're spending about 162 hours of human labor to generate on blended average across clients. And we took those workflows down to 30 hours with AI.
Wow.
And the work we were doing was really good because it was our expertise. We understood that we needed to align target market. So we'd spend weeks researching the target market, and suddenly AI could give us persona demographics and psychographics at a very deep level. And we'd go and validate that in the market, like, wow, this is incredible, right? So suddenly target market research went from 3 weeks to 3 minutes through really good prompting. So we started realizing prompt engineering was the key to unlocking this output. And I remember saying to my ops manager, you know what we're doing with AI? It's going to put us out of business. This model won't work with AI. We're too inefficient. AI is going to change everything. And I absolutely believed, and still do today, that AI is such a disruptive and transformational force, there's no way I could miss out. So, one of my team members, a young guy in the Philippines, he was our VA, if you like. He'd just manage all our appointments and customer service. Good guy, AJ. And he said he was burning out. He was VAs elsewhere, and he says, I need a break. I'm taking a week out. And I said to my ops manager, you know what? This is the chance I've been looking for. Should we go all in on AI and just shut everything down? And I had a really long think about this. This took through February and March, I was really thinking about this. And I made the decision at the beginning of March to walk away from everything. So I resigned from the other 4 businesses. Cost me a very good friendship. But I did the right thing. I took all my focus from 5 things. I turned off my agency. Webpage is still up. You can still see it all, but when you hit the buttons, it's, sorry, we're not taking new clients. I actually fired all my clients. Turned off all the revenue. So I was literally, on the 9th of March, I had no income, 0. I'd gone
you had
all the way.
Guaranteed income that you just turned off.
Yeah, and people think I'm crazy. But that's the entrepreneur life. You've got to take risk, not blind risk, not stupid risk, calculated risk. I could see, we were very good with AI by then. We were developing a lot of prompt engineering techniques, and it was wild, wild west. There's no playbook for AI, so we're developing it on the fly. But just seeing the utility we could extract from AI, and most people were missing it. Most people couldn't see it, and they were just using it to do dumb stuff. And we're like, we have an edge here. So we started a group, and 0 people. I had a group, so I changed the name to ChatGPT, da-da-da. We created the brand name Evolution Unleashed. 9th of March, I went full-time on AI. By the 15th of March, we had our first marketing framework, which is just the one we're using for ourselves. We just recorded a course, tidied up the prompts, and showed people how to use it. And we made I think the first week we made like $5K selling this course at $50. We just sold a ton of them. And it was like, oh, wow, we're early. And then, of course, in my true fashion, I made many mistakes, as you do when you start from scratch. So I started with 0 audience, 0 network in AI. Nobody knows who I am. And we're now just a year into it. So what are we now? Just at the end of
March.
March still. So yeah, it's been exactly a year and some days since I went all in. And it's been an incredible journey, again, with mistakes. But you've got to make mistakes. You've got to be prepared to make mistakes, as long as you're aware and listening and paying attention. But you see, with this new mindset, I've lost a lot of weight. I'm now going to a gym. I've got a nutritionist. I've learned how food interacts. And, I was going down a path with this business, Evolution Unleashed, and I realized this might not be where I want to go with this company. And that's when I met you. in Chiang Mai. I went to Chiang Mai to get away from rainy season
Right.
in Vietnam. My business partner, who was my old ops manager, he had an accident. He couldn't use his right hand. He had some personal things and he needed some certainty around income that we just didn't have as a startup. So he had to go and do something else. And I understand that. And I was very sad, I still am. The day he wants to come back, he's there. He was my co-founder. But that was November. And I've our group had grown from 0 to when I hit Chiang Mai, we were sitting at 15,000, but we'd had this boost and it would just dropped off and we flatlined. And these other communities were growing much faster because I dropped the ball. I wasn't focusing where I should have been focusing. And I have to remind myself constantly, singular focus. And I was like, AI can help with this. AI is very good at strategy. So I went to Chiang Mai to clear my head. I wanted to rebuild my healthy habits and really, for the first time, finally push through and start achieving at the level I've always dreamed of since I was that kid reading those first books.
When you say you had to bring back the singular focus, weren't you at a singular focus because you were just doing the AI?
But within that, I was split.
Oh, were you? You're doing lots of different projects.
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to make revenue without understanding the drivers of the revenue. So I was just throwing things at the wall, trying to make something stick. Okay. I wasn't really being strategic. And so I took a step back. It's not terrible. I mean, we did 133K in our first year.
Yep.
So it's not the end of the world bad. And we're going to have a much bigger year this year. But it was in Chiang Mai where I was just really refocusing, doing a lot of walking, met you. I was very energetic again. I have been since I left New Zealand. I've had this power and it's getting stronger and stronger. But I just wanted to refocus. Now it's just going to be me in the business. I didn't have my support partner. So that came with sadness, but also an opportunity to really take ownership and run with it. And I'm grateful that that's happened because I had a business strategy I developed through AI. It was a good strategy, but it just didn't get me out of bed. And it was doing things I didn't enjoy doing. And I know that long term, that's going to lead to failure for me. Know thyself. So I had this idea to give the AI a bit of information about the way I'm wired. So I wrote down a whole lot of stuff about me. It took me a few days. And then I said, here's some context. Here's my strategy. Align that strategy to me. And it spat out a whole new strategy. I asked it to explain its reasoning. And it spat out this whole new strategy. Gave me goosebumps. I'm like, that looks like fun. I can do that. Wow, that's a really good path. Completely wired for me. Very unique to me. And this is the power of AI. And I've become very good at prompt engineering. So I can, and I'm also very creative. So I can come up with very interesting use cases and extract them from AI. New ways to do things that could never be done before. So the short and curlies of it is, since having that little aha, let's align it to me and really do that, our community is now at about 18,500. We're growing at 100 people a day. I'm now building the right assets to capture emails and to drive our marketing to create more continuity and more consistency in revenue, rather than having to just keep pushing revenue like back in my chocolate days when I needed money, put out a bundle. I'm throwing all these frameworks out there. No, that's not smart. I need to be more big picture. So now I'm building a plan. We're making money too, but I'm building a very, very exciting plan that I can't really talk about just yet. But I tell you, AI is such a game changer.
How can, I've had a look at some of the things that you've created, like Launch AI, and your MAF, your marketing
accelerator framework.
The marketing accelerator framework.
I'm very good at naming products. Bit cringy.
How will this help? Can it just help a person that doesn't have a business? Is this useful?
So, you see, what I've realized I'm good at is solving problems I've already solved for myself, and knowing that other people have those problems. And now with AI, I can show them how to solve their problem. So one of the biggest problems I had when I started my marketing agency, trying to get my, had that first big funnel, spent thousands of dollars and literally made $0, a bit humbling when you think you're good at marketing and you realize I suck at internet marketing. And where was I going with that?
I'm not sure.
I'm just remembering how bad I was.
No, we're trying to. I'm asking you like, how can your product help an ordinary person that may not necessarily have a business?
Correct. So the problem I was having was, well, how do I get this started? You need an audience. You know, I'm not Russell Brunson. If Russell Brunson had launched my funnel, it would have been successful because of him.
Right.
So I realized there was a missing piece. So when I built Launch AI, it was to help entrepreneurs like me that had struggled to get traction. And you know, the problem most people have when they're in entrepreneurship is they hit a wall and they go, that's a dead end. So they change and they pivot and they pivot. And I follow these people on Facebook, a lot of people I follow on Facebook or have connected with. And 3 months later, they're doing something new and then they're onto something new. And it's so confusing. And they don't realize that over the course of time, you're just confusing people.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got to just pick one thing. And you've got to have some smart strategy to make sure it's the right thing, but then you just got to bang that wall down. You've got to just smash it down. And AI levels the playing field. It gives us access to knowledge, and knowledge is power. And AI doesn't just give us access to knowledge. I mean, Google gives us access to knowledge through a search engine.
Yeah. It
teaches us how to apply it to specific situations. And that's where the power of AI kicks in.
So how does any of your products, not relating to a business sense, can it help just in the personal sense?
Well, Launch AI, coming back to that product, is designed so that people can tell the AI about themselves. And this is the exciting thing about AI, is new possibilities. I mean, it's a massive blue ocean, massive. There are literally, around the world, 100 million plus businesses. And if they don't adapt to AI, they will die. The old models will not work. It's horse and cart, and now the cars come along. Except it's not horse and cart and car, it's horse and cart and something from 100 years in the future, spaceship, right? It's just, AI is this massive leap in technology, and if you're not embracing it, you're going to be outcompeted because we can go faster, smarter, precision alignment to our markets. So Launch AI, I built that for the entrepreneurs that had struggled like I had. And I realized why I struggled. I wasn't leaning into my strengths. I was trying to do things I wasn't wired for. So if we can teach the AI how we're wired, and then we can create a unique business model, personalization, you hear it about AI all the time, but what does it really mean? Well, you can build a business model personalized to your wiring. So no off-the-shelf business model, develop a business model that you're wired for. Develop an offer and a service that is in your wheelhouse and in your passions that you can supply to the market or help people with. So we're about creating an offer and a business model perfectly aligned to the way we're wired. And that's what Launch AI is about. Now it's just in beta at the moment, but already very, very good feedback. Because you can take a business model and align it to your strengths, your skills, your natural inclinations and mindset, the things that are just intuitively easy for you, and it shows you the areas of your business that you'll need that you don't have strength in and how to offset those. And AI automations, AI can do a lot of that stuff. We don't need to hire people, AI can do it. We're heading into a world where one single person company will make $1 billion in the AI era, guarantee it. So Launch AI will help people launch an offer into the AI services market because it's such a huge opportunity. These 100 million businesses that need to adapt, they're going to be looking for these services, streamline their value delivery processes, optimize their systems, adapt their business model to the way they're wired, whatever it is, your marketing, they're going to need help. So if you're established now, early, who are they going to turn to when they need help? The market leaders. Well, today's pioneers are tomorrow's market leaders. They're the ones that are banging that wall down and pioneering that new ground. And that's what Launch AI is about, is pioneering a new form of business model that will work in the AI era, because people don't realize how much things are going to change. The past won't equal the future, Dorothy, Kansas is going bye-bye. And the world as we know it, the way things work, it's not going to be as fast as people think in the short term, but then it'll be faster than people think when it happens. But disruption is coming. The way we work is going to change, and it's already happening. Klarna, huge company, one chatbot, 2.3 million calls in a month. They laid off 700 people, say 40 million a year, because the AI can do 700 people's job. Incredible. And as that starts spreading, all these people are going to need all these other businesses will go, oh, I need that. Well, who's going to supply it? And that's what Launch AI is about, creating that business. But not just creating a business to go into that the old way, but pioneer a new business model wired to you. It's flexible, it can pivot fast, it can adjust as needed, because you don't have the complication of a big organization that you have to bring along with you. So you're like a little speedboat that can turn quickly, whereas a big container boat has to turn slowly, because they just don't have that agility that a small team can have. So there's massive opportunities right now. So Launch AI is one product. The Math Marketing Accelerator is designed to help small businesses that suck at marketing, which is most. I'd say 99% aren't even doing marketing. They just throw stuff at the wall sometimes. Yeah. This is we're actually just launching the upgrade, Math V2, as we speak. We've rolled out 3/4 of it. It's being rolled out over the coming days. I should be doing it right now, but I'm talking to you instead. But Math V2 is fully automated. So you'll build all these custom GPTs that will just spit out aligned marketing. So as a business owner, you can go through this program and it will learn about your business, it'll learn about your customers, it'll learn what makes your customers tick, and it'll align your offer to them, not just to them, but to the different stages of the customer journey. AI can do so much that people don't realize. Once we've aligned to that journey, we can then produce content very strategically. The AI gives you the strategy that will move people through the process from finding out about your brand to making a decision as fast as possible. And then you've got this amazing lead generation, client acquisition, and content strategy cohesively that you can just automate. You can just create content at scale. Within probably an hour, you can create a month worth of content. Not just content for the sake of content, but aligned strategic content that feeds into the bigger strategic goal of growing revenue.
So this sounds like to me it's not only just good for any business, but I guess also for all the people that are influencers or whatever to build their brand or their personal brand.
Exactly, and you asked a question which I didn't answer, I'll answer now, which was how does that apply to personal life? And this is where I'm most excited. This is where I've had the biggest breakthroughs. In Chiang Mai, I realized if I can do that, take this context that I built about myself and align my business strategy, what about if I put my whole life in there? The glass ceilings that I have, the things that I still feel are holding me back. So I just said, okay, well, here's some problems I'm having. What's your suggestions? Boom, boom, boom. Absolutely amazing. Get a nutritionist. You can't go to a gym by yourself, get a trainer. Don't do it all at once, you'll get overwhelmed and you won't follow through. It laid out this strategy for me that was wired to me. And it made me realize I can teach other people how to do this. And it's not out yet, apart from Launch AI, which is in beta. We'll re-release that shortly. It's a very cool program. But we're going to have one that you're going to be able to use AI to pioneer you a path completely wired to your DNA, fit you like a glove. It's like a strategy built specifically for you. Now, to do that with a consultant would cost a ton of money, right? You think where you pay people like Tony Robbins, you're following other people's path. This creates your own path. You don't need gurus anymore. Sorry, Tony. Sorry, Russell. Sorry, Alex Hormozy. But, unless you're wired exactly like them, their path won't work for you, which is why 95% of people fail when they follow these programs. I want it to be different. And it's about creating a path aligned to yourself that's built for you. And if you have a problem you need to overcome, the AI can strategize based on the way you're wired, the best optimal path for you to go down that will give you the best chance of success. Now, it's not going to do the walking down the path for you. We still have to take action, right? But what the AI does is gives you the knowledge in a way that is applicable, and so applied knowledge. Shows you how to apply the knowledge in your situation. And the strategy it spits out is naturally wired to you, so it's not going to be as hard as it is trying to do it following other people's path or just feeling the pressure, I've got to do this, and throwing stuff at the wall to make it stick. So whether it's personal development, career, business, AI can propel you forward. If you're in a job right now, a career, then you should be using AI to say, this is the way I'm wired, this is my career path, this is what I'm doing, what's my future? Especially with AI coming. Where should I be pivoting? What should I be focused on? The knowledge is all there. What AI does is, through very clever prompt engineering and programs like ours, will tell you how to achieve it, how to apply that knowledge in a way that is most natural for you to do so. Very exciting stuff. We're entering a new generation of personal development, business development, career development, and it's going to be AI driven and it's going to be personalized. We hear about personalized healthcare and personalized education. Why not personalized development, personalized career? You know, we have just a prompt. I could turn it into a custom GPT in an hour, but we have this prompt where somebody looking for jobs can say, well, here's my CV, right? So they upload the CV and then they say, here's a job I'm applying for, and they put the job description in, and the prompt will spit out a customized resume and tailored cover letter specifically for that job.
Wow.
Now, those people that are not doing that and just sending the same CV to everyone, they don't have that same level of alignment. So as a recruiter looks through, oh, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Who's going to get the job, or at least the interview?
Yeah.
You're going to increase your chances of getting an interview in the roles that you want. So this is where we can use AI to improve our situations, to move ourselves forward in a way that is so much faster and easier than before AI. And before AI, the barriers to entry, and to be able to achieve this, you're paying gurus thousands of dollars to follow their path. It's just not going to work.
Right. So it's basically going to make this kind of like personalized advice or consulting a lot more accessible.
Oh yeah. And if you're in business, you get a client, you can take their data, personalize a solution, and come back to them, and they're going to think you're a genius, and they won't even know you're using AI to do this.
Yeah.
Right? So there is, I can't believe how much opportunity there is, and it surprises me that a lot of people are not awake to it. They don't understand AI. They're worried about it's going to become a Terminator and destroy the world. You know, in Chiang Mai, I expected to find, you know, that's the hub of digital nomadism, and it was peak season. And I remember going to these entrepreneur meetups, like the places I met you. In that meeting we met, you know, someone else made the point, isn't it funny how every discussion about AI leads to it's going to destroy us all?
Yes.
And I don't agree with that, because people don't look at the other side of the coin. We can do 100 times more with AI, and we will. So there's been an explosion of value, an explosion of people creating content and value and products and services. They're not just going to do 1% and then go play golf for 99% of the time. They're just going to be able to do more. So will businesses. So we're heading into an age of abundance, I think. And for those that are leaning into AI now, well, you're going to be at the forefront. And I'm all about maximizing our edge with AI. How can we use AI to maximize our edge to give us the best chance of success? And the edge right now is massive. And I can't state that enough.
So besides getting into using one of your programs, what would be the first thing that you would recommend people to start doing?
Just start using AI, start talking to AI. How we learn prompt engineering.
Is that specific just like ChatGPT, or is
whatever one you have access to?
Because
they're all pretty good. Yeah. Look, for me, I want maximum edge. Right now, ChatGPT, I say this, but it could change tomorrow. ChatGPT, while some people say Claude 3 is more powerful, ChatGPT has additional functionality like custom GPTs and so on, custom instructions that allow us to do more. So like our math version 2, which will automate all our content creation, we can do the strategy and all of that with Claude, but we can't build the custom GPTs to automate it. It can't do image generation, so we still need ChatGPT, so it's the best tool. And my advice to anyone is just ask it, tell it about what you want, just in your own words, I want something like this, and then add a line, explain your reasoning. And that's how we learned AI, because it would tell us how it thought. Oh, okay, so that leads to it thinks this. And over time, you can develop prompting. Now, we have a community called The Unleashed. That's that, 18K plus. And in there, we have guides. So we give this information for free. Because in this new world that we're going into, there's going to be a tsunami of content. So you need community, and you need value to nurture that community so people know you, trust you, before they'll ever spend a cent with you. Especially with deep fakes and all the, can I really trust, is that real? So yeah, scammers are going to have a lot of fun with AI, unfortunately. So we're going to have to change the way we do things.
Yeah. Well, it does. I have to definitely get more into this. I'm just clearing my plate. but I'm going to be head on into AI and checking out some of the things that you've obviously got on your platform. Evolution Unleashed is the Facebook page,
Yep,
the
it's
website.
group/Evolution Unleashed AI.
Okay.
Yeah, and
It'll be
people
in
get to our community. Yeah, it's not hard to find. Just search Evolution Unleashed on Facebook and you'll find us.
And you also have a YouTube channel.
New young YouTube channel, and you know, it's funny, we talk about what makes us successful. It's consistency, it's turning up every day. So I made some commitments to myself that I was going to see through this strategy. And one of those strategies is to produce videos every day. Now, most of them go in our Facebook community, but I've started just thinking, I had this kind of mindset that it's not good enough for YouTube. And I'm like, well, got to start. People love me here. Let's just put it out there. So I've been putting out this content, and a few of our videos have taken off and done quite well. Still very much in our early days. But, I feel like my business is a year old, Evolution Unleashed, but I really feel like it's a month. No, I feel like since I came back from Chiang Mai 2 months ago, it's really then that I really realized the direction I was going to go and shifted everything to the right way. So, and there's still so much opportunity ahead. So don't sleep on AI. It's coming, like it or not. It doesn't care about what you think about AI. It's coming, so's the disruption. And I know it's hard to hear it, but you have to adapt. You have to at least learn. Don't allow mindset, like I did, rob me of decades of enjoyment and happiness because my mindset was wrong. And if you've got the wrong mindset about AI, you'll make the wrong decisions. And you'll get left behind. That would be sad.
Yes, no one likes being left behind.
No, but people don't see it. People still can't see it coming. I see it clear as day. I'm a little afraid of what's coming. It's going to be very disruptive. But on the flip side, we're going to create so much. The barriers to entry are going down. So you and I will be able to create little movies just using prompts so we can bring our imagination to life. For creatives, it's an incredibly powerful tool. But it's going to be AI will be able to do everything a human can do intellectually within the next 2 to 5 years. And what does that mean? Will we have to work? What will it mean for humanity? And these are some big questions that we have to ask. And it is a little scary, but all change is. So all we can do is, Steve Covey, the second book I ever read after Dale Carnegie, with the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And it's amazing what sticks with you, right? When you have these first aha moments reading these books. And he was talking about circles of influence and how when you focus on things outside your control, I hate AI, it's stealing jobs, it's bad for artists, then you diminish your own influence. But when you focus on things within your circle of influence, you grow and you increase and you can change more. And that's what I'm focused on, is that circle of influence. Where can I make impact? How can I help people? We're mission driven. We want to equip people with the basic skills to use AI for free because it's a human right, I think. And no matter where you're born, what body you're born into, what country you're born into, everyone should have equal opportunity. And AI breaks down those barriers and gives people that. But to get the best out of AI, you need to know how to talk to it. So to answer your question, where to start, learn how to prompt.
Right.
Learn prompting. 1 or 2 line prompts won't cut it. To do what we do, we have very complex prompts. In fact, for our marketing accelerator framework, when you look at all the information, it's probably more than 10,000 words that we're giving the AI to drive, and that's just to drive it. All in the background. You won't see any of it. You'll just have, make me an email, now give me the image for it, now give me a Facebook post for it. And it will write them all according to the style that works best on those platforms, your brand voice. It's absolutely incredible what is possible when you rethink. When any disruptive technology comes along, I'm going on a tangent here, but this is fun. What people do, and this is what we did first, we took our workflow and we collapsed it. How do we make this better? That's layer 1. But layer 2 is not doing the same things but faster and better, but how do we reimagine new ways to do these things? Oh, let's build new business models aligned to us rather than adapt an old business model. With marketing, we're building a completely new way of marketing rather than doing the old way. The principles of marketing haven't changed, so they underlie that. But if you have any expertise, AI can extend that expertise. It can extend your intelligence. It can extend your capabilities, let you do more, faster, And because we're at the very beginning of the adoption curve, those who get this now will ride that wave. Those who don't will be washed away by it. Scary days coming.
Exciting.
Well, it's exhilarating. And I don't think it's going to be, I'm not a doomer, as I said in that meeting that we met, it's just so frustrating. I remember another meeting in Chiang Mai, people talking about AI, and their whole conversation, 20 people in this room as well, AI is going to become a sentient being, it needs to have rights, we need to create a Bill of Rights for AI. And I'm like, there is absolutely zero evidence that these things will become sentient, right? That's science fiction, but nobody seriously in AI believes that. Now, it could happen. I'm not saying I know the future, but that's not where your focus should be on AI. It's not on, it's going to destroy the world, we've got to fight it. You can't. Pandora's box is open. When technology comes along that massively improves the way we do things, it ain't going back in the box. So, it's not about giving it human rights and making sure it doesn't kill you. There's people putting safety barriers in place. It's about how can I utilize this tool to maximize my edge. That's where I'm at right now with AI. And that's what I'm trying to show people. Here's how you can get an edge. Why? To survive what's coming. Not just to survive, but to ride it and to partake in the abundance that's going to be created. No one talks about the abundance. They all talk about the job loss. They don't talk about what will happen when we're producing 100 times more value in the world than we are now. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, said last year, he believes we will see 50% increases in global GDP for an entire decade. Now, given 3% is considered roaring, 4% you're on fire, 50% is unfathomable, but people don't think about that. So if you're doing 100 times more, there's going to be a lot more need for support on that. And AI can't do every little thing, not yet. So there's going to create new opportunities, new jobs, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be new roles in companies, AI safety officers. So much opportunity. There'll be, some industries will go away, but new ones will emerge. And we don't think about that. We tend to look at the negative and not the positive. What we can come back to that circle of influence, we need to focus on what we can do to create our impact, to improve our edge, and in doing so, we will grow, we will thrive, we will be the winners. Because with every massive technological shift we've had, it's been accompanied by a huge wealth shift. There are trillions of dollars up for grabs.
All right, so I think we need to get out there and go get it.
That's what we're here to do, is show people how to go get it. Yeah.
Look, thank you so much, Stu, for spending time with me here today, especially taking out the time from building your new product.
Oh, I'm excited about it. I just want to do it all day. It's taken me a bit longer than I expected, but it's going to be an amazing product.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward. I'm really looking forward to your products that are coming out, the ones coming out now and the ones that you're developing.
Yeah, game changers.
And I look forward to catching up with you again and having more of a deeper dive, because today has really just been a very surface level kind of chat about AI. I know there's so much more that they can go dive deep into. So hopefully we'll have that conversation next time.
Sounds good. I mean, I got to talk about me today, me, looking at me in that photo. But I hope that your audience learns some of the principles that have driven my success.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you've definitely shared some very insightful pieces of advice and stories that I think will be very useful.
The biggest tree started as an acorn. You can't change where you are, but you can change where you're going.
Stu, you always have the perfect quote for every situation. Look, I really appreciate you sharing a bit of your entrepreneurial journey and of course all your insights around AI. So thank you so much for your time. And I really look forward to seeing how this all unfolds.
Yeah, we live in extraordinary times. And as I said, the past will not equal the future. And it's time to upskill.
All right, let's do this again sometime.
Man, pleasure as always.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's chat and learned some valuable insights and takeaways. I'd really love to hear what you got from this episode, so do leave your comments below. And remember, the journey to mastering AI or any new technology is with a single step. And remember, the journey to mastering AI or any new technology begins with a single step. So don't be afraid to dive in, experiment, and see how it can transform your life and work. A great starting point to learn how to get the most out of AI is to grab Stu's free prompt guide. You'll find a direct link in the description below. I've also included links to his other programs to radically transform your marketing, your business, and your life through AI. And if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss an update. And hey, why not share this episode with a friend who could really benefit from the great info? Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Derek Sue, and I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, be unstoppable.